What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC's Pop Culture.
Talk a little transfer portal now. Hey, coach, I'm sorry, but I've decided to leave. Over the last 3 years, the transfer portal has completely reshaped college football and how you build your roster. While it can be used to quickly upgrade your roster, it can also gut your program if a massive player heads to the X's. Massive players heads to the exits. Just like recruits, players in your roster can have a deal breaker, and any recruit that has a deal breaker will keep their deal breaker when they join your roster. Remember, deal breakers can be thought of as a promise between you and the player. If you fail to uphold your end of the deal, there's a chance they leave in the offseason. The corresponding my school grade falling below the threshold does not guarantee that they will leave, but the probability of a player transferring after the deal breaker has been violated is driven by their overall, with higher overall players being more likely to transfer. Keep in mind that every action you take throughout the season has the potential to impact your my school grades and therefore increases a player's chances of leaving. A perfect example is the coaching carousel, where coach firings or coaches leaving for new jobs could immediately impact a team's coach prestige grade, resulting in players entering the portal. In addition to players entering the portal, high overall players may look to go pro and enter the draft if they've been in the school for 3 or more years. Players who are entering the pro draft will display the round they are projected to be drafted in. Once a player has decided to leave, you'll have an opportunity to persuade them to stay. So we still got the player's leaving screen. The chance to successfully persuade a player to stay is determined by their overall and by your coach prestige. Higher overall players will be harder to convince than lower overall players. However, keep in mind that you only have a limited number of persuasion attempts. Interesting. That's new. That's a new addition. The number of persuasion attempts you have is determined by your coach prestige. The higher your coach prestige, the more attempts you will have. So in the past, anyone that was leaving, you could try and persuade them. Now you have a limited number of attempts, so you're going to have to pick and choose that shit. I like that addition as well, because with the portal, you can't keep everybody. You can increase the number of persuasion tips you have with the gift of gab coaching ability, and you can increase your chance of successfully persuading a player to stay with the roster retainer coach ability. Both these abilities are available in the program builder archetype, so that might influence you to be more of a program builder, to be able to persuade more. After advancing the week, you'll be able to see the pro draft results, which shows where players were drafted. When creating the pro draft results, we use the real world data and pro draft trends to inform when players are drafted based on their overall and position. You see here, this is after that player's leaving screen. Right here, we have pro draft. Martinez is projected round 2. Got him transferring because of play and style. Their persuasion chance is medium. Their persuasion chance is high. And you look up here, this coach has 10 persuasion opportunities. So he has enough to try and go after all 3 of these guys. And this is cool too. I think it's best if you play somewhere else. While players have the opportunity to leave via the transfer portal every season, you also have the opportunity to make roster changes, which is a nice addition. So, that player's leaving comes up. You got some guys that are down on your depth chart that you don't think are progressing the way that you hoped. Kick them to the curb, pull that Dion move, tell them go on, hop in that portal. Every offseason, you're required to get back down to 85 players in your roster. Unfortunately, that means if you're over the 85-man limit, you'll be forced to encourage some players to transfer and find a new home. Even if you are at or below 85 players in your roster, you can still encourage players to transfer in order to make room for new players the next season. And no, you can't encourage the brand new freshman you just signed to find a new home the moment he gets on campus. So obviously the new recruits can't do this for players that have been on your roster throughout the previous season. All right, the transfer portal. As we said at the beginning, one of our goals was to make the transfer portal authentically unpredictable. This begins with players leaving. Some schools may face a mass exodus of players, while others may be left untouched. Once all players have decided to stay or go, the transfer portal then opens at the start of off-season recruiting. So coinciding with off-season recruiting is when that transfer portal opens. Once you've had the chance to convince your players to stay, when you've had the chance to tell some players to leave if you want, then this opens. Off-season recruiting lasts 4 weeks in total, and transfers will make their final decision at the end of it on National Signing Day. Just like in real life, this is a chaotic 4 weeks where players are committing quickly and team rosters are rapidly changing. Teams will have to constantly make quick decisions, sometimes with limited information. Do you want to continue pursuing high school recruits, or are there more transfers that you see now in that portal that can immediately help and come in right away that you'd rather go after them instead? How much time do you want to spend discovering a transfer's motivations and scouting them versus selling them on your program? How soon do you want to bring a transfer in for a visit? Every transfer is given a star rating based on their overall and has national, state, and position rankings just like the high school prospects. Since people change over time, transfers are assigned a new ideal pitch and motivations. Every player in the portal has the same deal breaker that caused them to transfer originally. Their new ideal pitch will include their deal breaker motivation and will be relevant to transfers and their unique needs. After their new ideal pitch and motivations have been set, transfers will evaluate every school and generate a top schools list just like high school prospects do. They will look at how their motivations align with each school and adjust for pipelines and proximity to home. Since 4 and 5-star prospects are in the highest demand and they know more concretely what they are looking for, they will only consider 5 schools. So 4 and 5-star prospects, only choosing from 5 different schools. If you're not in their top 5, you're done. Lower star rated prospects will vary in the terms of the number of schools they are considering. Some will be completely open, while others will have as few as 3 schools they're considering. Regardless of where they start, the prospect of recruiting a transfer is fast and you will need to make quick decisions. Your interactions with the transfer will be very similar to interacting with a high school recruit. Depending on their stage, you will add recruiting actions, pitch your school, and then bring them on campus to try and close the deal. When evaluating whether to target transfers or high school prospects, you will look at each position on the roster throughout the season and monitor their immediate needs. If a position group does not meet the requirements, they will hold a spot on the recruiting board for an all-season transfer who they believe can come in and be an immediate contributor. Don't be surprised if you see teams finish early signing day with a light recruiting class just because they are trying to go after some of those transfers and make a big push in the portal. Of course, once they see the players who are actually in the portal, their priorities may change. Having a left tackle is nice and all during the season, but if there's a 5-star transfer quarterback who wants to come to your school, why turn them down? And here's our look at the transfer portal there. Some of the players that are in it here in this screenshot, the stage they're at, their interests, their previous team, all that stuff. Saw a little bit of that in the video there. Signing day. Just like the real world, College Football 25 features both early signing day and national signing. Hey, that's awesome. Slow clap for that. They added early signing day to the game now too. So many awesome additions here to Dynasty mode that reflect real life. They 100% went all out for this Dynasty mode, guys. This is incredible detail. I'm actually blown away by everything we're reading in this article right now. Early signing day takes place at the start of bowl season after the regular season has been completed. National signing day takes place 7 weeks after the Natty. On signing day, any players who have verbally committed to a school prior to signing day will sign, meaning they can no longer decommit. The majority of prospects will commit prior to early signing day, but some recruits may last late in the cycle. Those prospects, along with transfers, will ultimately sign their letter of intent on National Signing Day. Throughout recruiting, you can view the team recruiting rankings in the Top Classes tab of the Recruiting Club. Top Classes allows you to view the team recruiting rankings for high school prospects, transfers, or combined. You can also filter the rankings by conference. So that's cool. Not only can you see top classes nationally, you can look at the top classes within your conference, and you can look at high school rankings. You can look at transfer rankings, or you can look at a combination of the two, where I guess they have an average between your high school recruits and your transfer portal recruits. Any recruits who are unsigned after National Signing Day will stick around and become walk-ons in the offseason. With that being said, the days of a player who is being actively recruited, not committing anywhere, and drifting off into the ether are over. That's awesome. So you remember on 14 when that would happen, you'd be hard after a guy, give him a ton of points in the offseason. He doesn't commit to you. You look, where did he commit? He didn't commit anywhere. And then that dude's just not even there. Now, those players that don't commit will walk on to programs. That's cool. No longer will you have to speculate and fantasize about what happened to them. Did they fail to get into school because of the grades? They have a change of heart and decide archery instead. Was it something you said? Now the team with the highest influence on signing day will get the player as long as they've offered them a scholarship. This was a huge quality of a life improvement that we all felt was a must-have, and very happy to deliver it. Awesome. And we get a couple screenshots here of Oklahoma State, some players that they signed in their recruiting class here. And here's the top classes look. Looks like for the L2, you'll be able to sort national and conference. And this is overall. So this is transfer portal and high school recruits combined, I believe there, because it says overall here, if I'm not mistaken. Having said that, guys, until there's more info on this game, I'll be back to talk about it then. But appreciate you guys tuning into this one, and I will catch you on the next one.